Thank you for listening to the E2Gold story here. For those of you who don't know us, we are a junior gold exploration company out of Ontario, Canada. I know you were looking for a royalty story, but surprise, you get a good, awesome gold story here. So 4 key highlights. If you take away nothing else from this, we are in a great neighborhood in between Hemlo and Timmins. So great infrastructure. You can see that photo there is the railroad community of Oba, which is just 5 minutes away from our property. Our facilities are there. Lots of logging roads, railroads going through the property. So great infrastructure. Number 2, we have a great foundation. We have a large district scale property package with classic Archean greenstone belt in it. And a good, it's the early stage of exploration on that greenstone belt, but anchored by a 43101 compliant resource that's open all around. We have a great team. I am the president and co-founder of the company. I'm a geologist along with our CEO, who's also a geologist. He founded and ran another company. And then our field geologists are fantastic, keen, so the right team to move this forward. And we're trying to build 2 million ounces of gold with room to grow and sell that to a miner. We're not looking to be miners ourselves, so the right plan in place for this project. Briefly, our share structure, 108 million shares outstanding, pretty tightly held, 15% by insiders there in the blue, 27% by 9 separate funds. So we are just a little over a year old as a public company, and we're quite proud of that institutional investment with Crescat as our largest shareholder there. So the property portfolio you can see in the inset map is in Ontario, north central Ontario, right between Hemlo and then Timmins and Kirkland Lakes. So world-class mining jurisdictions. And then in that center area there, lots of new mining coming online in the past 15 years with Borden, Cote, and redefinitions at Magino and Island. So really great infrastructure area. But then from a geologic perspective, we're on a very important geologic gold-bearing structure. You can see those 2 orange lines there represent the north and south parallel structures that host most of the mines in the area, and we're right on the western extent of the Porcupine-Destor Fault. And that Porcupine-Destor Fault, or the interpreted western extent, carries on over from our Hawkins Project, which is the flagship project there, and then carries on to the Bandor Project, which is our secondary property. So mostly we're going to focus on the Hawkins Project. What we're starting with is a 43101 compliant resource. That's the McKinnon zone. You can see at the bottom, 1.65 grams per ton, 328,000 ounces. And then the Bandor property has 2 historic, meaning non-compliant resources. So we're starting with these 3 resources. All 3 share a very similar geologic setting, from surface down to on average 150 meters and open all around, so a good starting point for our exploration activities. But focusing on Hawkins there, right in the center, you can see the McKinnon zone, and you can see it's quite a large property package, 80 kilometers long. And to put that into perspective, the Timmins gold camp produced 70 million ounces of gold and was a 50-kilometer strike length. So quite a large property package here. And the green there, this is a geologic base map, the green represents the greenstone belt. And it's a very classic gold-bearing style of greenstone belt, very similar to those you see in other gold mining camps in Canada, like Timmins and Val-d'Or. And those black dashed lines running through the property there are shear zones. So that's very important for fluid movement and gold deposition. So very classic characteristics of these Archean greenstone belt deposits. So as I said, focusing on the McKinnon zone, which is right in the center there, it's 3.5 kilometers long, and those orange dots that you might be able to make out in the center are other targets that we are starting to assess. Our focus is that central 15 kilometers, which is called the Central Hawkins Corridor. The other 2 property packages on the west, the KB claims, and on the east, the Eastern Block, are early stage, but have very interesting geologic characteristics. So we're going to be exploring those as well, and I'll tell you a bit more about those after we talk about McKinnon. So zooming into McKinnon, what we're looking at here in purple is a longitudinal section, which is a side view. We're looking a slice through the earth, the side view of the resource in purple. In the purple are little tiny black dots, which represent the Falcon Bridge drilling of the 1980s. That defines the resource. As I said, open all around. What you're looking at is surface down to about 150 meters. Those squares there are 250 meters. And so the way we're looking at growing this is finding out what that footprint can be before doing any updating. And that footprint can expand either at depth or along strike. So we spent the first year as a public company assessing the at-depth footprint. That's the larger dots that you see there. You can see they're spaced about 300 meters apart, so very early stage exploration on that assessment. And we were able to demonstrate that gold mineralization continues down at depth, significantly below the resource, to that red dash line, which is our new footprint. And note that it is open below that footprint. So the next few steps, as I said, 300 meters apart, that's like 3 football fields, and we're looking for a couple of meters of material. So this is early days on this. The next steps will be to follow up on those high-grade zones and the wide zones and see if we can't find some more mineable combinations of widths and grade there. So that will be part of our next drill program, is following up on those zones down there. The next drill program scheduled to start in the fall. And then we will also, the main priority of that next drill program will now be to see what's the footprint along strike, because it's also open east and west. So I'm just going to point out why we think there's great growth potential for the McKinnon zone along strike here as well as at depth. So now we're zooming out, we're stepping back and looking at the central 15 kilometers. This is a bird's eye view down onto the surface of the earth. We can see the magnetics. There is the base map, so how magnetic the rocks are. It's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see the label for the McKinnon zone. That is the red line there in those 3 sort of orange dots where the label is pointing. That red line follows this blue low magnetic signature. And that blue low magnetic signature carries along to the east and carries along to the west. And you can see it trends for 12 kilometers. So the McKinnon zone is 3.5 kilometers, but we see geologic continuity for 12 kilometers, and nothing outside of the McKinnon zone has been drill tested. You can also see those orange dots are high-grade surface prospects, and those prospects also follow that low magnetic signature. We also did an IP survey in that red box there, and we see a black line that represents an anomaly that's similar to the McKinnon anomaly that also follows that trend. So we're seeing a lot of indicator that there's geologic continuity, there's localized high grade. Now we want to see, is there grade continuity? So that step out drilling will be our next focus, and that drilling will take place in the fall. What we're doing right now is surface exploration to hone in on where we want to actually be drilling more specifically. So, as I said, the west and the east are very interesting geologic areas. They're really complex, which is great for gold stories. So we have a lot of really good geophysics information on both the west, the KB claims in the east, but they're early stage. So we're starting out by doing some mapping and trenching this summer. The guys are out there already. They've been out there for a couple of weeks, and they're doing the initial stage prospecting and mapping to start setting up drill targets for the west and the east. So that's Hawkins, surface exploration for the next 4 months, drilling in the fall, and now briefly on Band Ore, which is our other property that we optioned off of the owner in the fall. You can see that here. Remember, it is west of Hawkins, but it still lies along that same geologic trend. It's about 10 kilometers long, so smaller, but still a good size for our purposes here. It has 2 historic resources on it. You can see that the main zone and the number 4 zone circled in blue there. On the side of the photo or on the side of the map, you can see the grades about 6.86 grams per ton and almost 5 grams per ton there for the number 4 zone. So quite high grade. What we're going to do there is do a small initial foray into this project by doing a drill program, 1,000 meters this summer, to start testing out those resources. Now, the number 4 zone is interesting because it was drilled off of just a geophysical signature, and we see that signature to the west in the BOE target. So we will also be testing that target. And if that target hits, that will be sort of our new discovery zone. So that's really our story. We're in Ontario, great property packages, great starting points, surface exploration work this summer to really firm up our drill targets, drilling at Band Ore in the summer, drilling at Hawkins in the fall. So thanks for listening.